forward one step at a time. Today, episode continued, right? And today episode continues our series, The Ladder, Running Your Race. Life is a race, right? And we are being long enough to know it's not always fast, it's not always easy, but it's always worth it, right? So, and
We
today
see the
episode
scripture
continues our
in 1
series, The
Corinthians
Ladder,
9 24
Running
27
Your
say,
Race.
Run
Life is a
in
race,
such a way
right?
as to get
So,
prize.
and we are being
Always
long
wanna win
enough
the prize,
to know
right? So it's
it's
trying
not
to
always
upload
fast,
to my body
it's not
and
always
make
easy,
my slave.
but it's always
So that
worth it,
after I
right?
have reached
So,
to others, myself,
and
we
today
see the
episode
scripture
continues our
in 1
series, The
Corinthians
Ladder,
9 24
Running
27
Your
say,
Race.
we want today
Run,
and
life is a
then
race,
such a way
let me
as
ask you.
to get
So,
prize.
and we
Some
are
people always
being
wanna
long
win the
enough
prize.
to
Where are
know
you right now
so
in Detroit?
what is your next steps? What are you doing today? Move forward. Let's talk about it. Let's reflect. Let's climbing, and we beginning. All right.
¿Alguna vez has escuchado un sermón y te has quedado pensando, ¿eso qué significa para mí? Ever listened to a sermon and thought, what does that mean for me? Bienvenido a ¿Y ahora qué? Welcome to Now What? Aquí no buscamos respuestas perfectas, pero sí conversaciones reales. We are not looking for perfect answers, but real conversations. Queremos explorar juntos lo que realmente resuena en nuestras vidas después de escuchar la prédica del domingo. We want to explore together what really resonates in our lives after hearing Sunday's sermon. Es un espacio para compartir, reflexionar y descubrir juntos cómo las palabras que nos tocan pueden ser la clave para dar sentido a nuestro caminar con Dios y a nuestro día a día. It's a space to share, reflect, and discover together how the words that touch us can be the key to making sense of our walk with God and our daily life. Let's dive into the journey. Comenzamos.
We have a special guest, right? Today I have my brother and friend Paul, the brother name. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you.
And then on the Sunday we talking about the race, right?
Yeah.
So where do you think we are right now? Where do you think we are in the personal growth journey?
Hmm.
Because always we say like, come, Jesus called us, right?
Hmm.
And we are in the race.
Yes.
And sometimes like, what I mean the race for us? I mean, why are we to running
Hmm.
to get a prize?
Yes.
Why do you think your personal growth with the journey as the Christian? What is your race? Why are you running? Running from where or running for what?
Wow. Um, yes. So, starting with the growth, where do I think I'm at in my personal growth journey right now? I would say I I myself, I'm currently at a place where I think I'm all in. I'm 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 done trying to um, negotiate terms with God. I don't
Yeah,
know if that makes any sense.
yeah. Let's
Um,
tell us more.
so, what I mean by negotiating terms with God is like, trying to see if He'll do things. Um, but, over time, we all learn that God is God. He's not a genie, right?
Right.
He's not just going to grant everything that you ask or wish. So, um, what I'm learning now and this is kind of where I'm at, I think, in my journey, is that I really just want His will to be done. I really just want to be in the middle of what He has for me as opposed to what I have for myself.
Yeah, that one is right. Sometimes we're thinking just because we're a Christian, we remember He got a purpose for us, right?
Yep.
And like you said, is the negotiation like that? And how you think that one, the term negotiation is between you and God. How you figure out okay, Lord, you want this one, but hey, what happened with this one? How
Right.
you figure out that? Yeah, tell us because
What?
it's important. Like sometimes in Christian we say like, oh, I got raised. You want to make me change my life for you, and
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes we malunderstanding. What is God way for us?
Yes.
So in this case, what is your in your personal walking with God? Why use the negotiation like you say and you walk?
Yes. Because I think even in the Bible, like you see when Jesus talks about the lady who would not stop coming to
But
the court
sometimes we
until the judge gave her what she
malunderstanding.
wanted.
What is God
Right.
way
Yeah,
for us?
that was a
Yes.
So
negotiation.
in this case, what is your
Right.
in your
Um,
personal walking with God?
Yeah. Um, you know, there's also it wasn't a parable, but it was when Jesus was, doing ministry. He was healing. He was in a hut, and the hut was so crowded on the outside that nobody could get in. But then you remember the guys that broke through the roof, right? And they
Yeah,
brought
yeah,
their
absolutely
friend and they
right,
lowered
yeah.
him down,
Yeah, it was
But
a little extreme healing.
right,
Extreme.
it was
Looking for
extremely healing. But
yeah.
again, some people think it was a contest of faith. I feel like it was a negotiation. They just, it was like they kind of approached him on their terms. And I think that's what most of us do. We approach God on our terms, right? Um, and I think the thing that I negotiate with him is trying to see what is actually within his will, and also like what secret will he give to me to be able to enact his will. Like those are kind of the things that I find myself working out with him and trying to ask him, and it might sound silly and it might sound tit for tat, but also like God does, you know he actually asks or require us to do certain things before he will release certain things to us, right? um and so with that being the case, I just, I always come, when I come to him in need, it really is just trying to understand, is this need really something that I need, or is it something that I need to give to him? And so
And then that situation that push you to take the next step.
yes, absolutely. I think it kind of pushes me towards that. I think it pushes all of us towards that next step. um and I think it's because we're trying to get him to move. um yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly that's good, my brother. Because sometimes we don't realize how powerful is God and
Mm.
how much He loved us. And
Mhm.
He's willing to listen to us. And like you said, even the terms, He willing to listen to us,
Right.
right?
That's it.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. Yeah, my brother. Yeah, sometimes we like a Christian, we're walking a Christian, say like, oh, but no, God is willing to listen to us.
Right.
All right. All right, my brother. Let's continue with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you fight distractions when running your race? I was a kid when distractions. We were
Yes.
talking about distraction, and what do you think is the biggest distraction for you, or challenge for you?
I mean, I would say, life, right? Life is a distraction. It has so many things that contest for your attention. I know for me, as I run my race, throughout the years, especially lately, um, what God has been doing is He's been kind of helping me to build routines. Um, and routines are super important because you have to have discipline to be able to do your routine. The other thing about a routine is like, you know, it's a routine. That means you're committed to it. It's like work. Work committed to it. You show up every day. You get up every day. You do what you're supposed to do. And so for myself, what I did is I added routines that I'm committed to. So you know, like um, like waking up early. I wake up early. I always normally wake up early, even on my days off when I don't work, just to be able to make sure that I'm making the time that I need to do exercise, to read my word, to pray, and set the tone for what my day looks like. It's not always perfect. I don't always get to do my routine. But the thing about having a routine is it allows me to commit to something that will help bring discipline in my life, um, that helps to nourish me on several levels, whether it's physically, spiritually, emotionally. Um, yeah, routines are super strong for me.
Yeah, that's good. And brother, just tell me. So, like you say, right? Set your routine at the
Mhm.
beginning, pray to the Lord,
Mhm.
give you thanks. Like, what happened if the phone is like ding 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 message?
Yeah.
So, how you deal with that distractions, or how you set up your mind and say, like,
That's a
hey,
good one.
hold on a second, I have something to do. But
Yeah.
human beings, we sometimes like, oh, let me check it out.
Hmm.
Oh, I can send.
Yes.
So, how is important to us understanding the distractions
Hmm.
can cut the communication? It's like you and me right now. We are communicating, but if my phone ring, what we do?
Right.
Yeah, no, yeah. Now it's basically talking with the God. So, what are you doing in the cases when you forget something on your phone,
Yes.
or you forget your phone near to you?
Right.
So, how you deal with that distraction, and then how it's like how you deal it, right? How you set up the routine
Hmm.
and take the distraction away.
Yeah.
How you do that?
I love that. It's so funny you said that because recently, as I find myself reading my word, it's in my phone. So, somebody texts me, I get a message about news or something that I've been interested in. A video pops up about, something that I was interested in, and immediately I get distracted. So you're absolutely right. I would even say, um, you know, part of it is distractions, and I would say the other part of it is posture, right? Because distractions happen regardless whether we're paying attention or not. But posture is actually a choice. That's that's
Yeah,
a that's a that's a
exactly.
that's a you've committed in a posture. And so, sometimes this is the distraction, but sometimes we're just not in the right posture, and distractions are that much easier for us. So what I've done recently, um, and I went to my mom for it because I was like, maybe I should
Yeah,
go to the store and buy one, but I was like, no, let me just ask my mom, and I know she has one.
good,
So what I
good.
did is I ended up getting I have a paperback Bible again.
Yeah, you're
So when I'm
close.
reading,
Yeah,
I'm not getting a text, I'm not getting a message or anything like that, and so I'm focused and I'm all in. Um, but it is things like that where I am finding that I have to go back to getting regular books, or I have to put my phone away while I go do what I'm supposed to do, whether it's laundry or the dishes, or because it's a huge distraction. So
yeah. And I mean, too many Christian, like they say, it's hard at the beginning, right?
yeah.
It's hard, but because it's part now, it's a part of us.
Hmm.
We don't walk outside with the phone. We
Right.
don't go outside without the phone. We forget the keys.
Hmm.
We forget something else, but the phone we tend to always never forget. And that's like you say, something important to change that for the word.
Yes.
Paper, Bible,
Yeah.
and then it's always necessary.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Okay, brother Paul. We get learning good today. We are good. So okay, let me say something.
Yeah.
Which Bible verse speaks to you most when you feel tired, when you're thinking, I thinking I pray too much.
Hmm.
I thinking I have too much Bible. I thinking I pray a lot. So what verse say, hey, tell me something recently happened to you and tell you, hey, don't stop.
Hmm.
How happened? How work and how encourage you to say, hey, keep it going.
Yeah.
Tell us, brother.
So probably the verse that has always kind of just come back to my life over and over again. And I'm sure many people lean on this verse. It's a life verse for so many people, but Jeremiah 29:11 um, is um, one of my verses that always kind of just come back to me and always kind of brings me life, especially when I feel like I'm far away from Him, or I feel like I'm struggling or suffering more than normal. I don't if there's a normal suffering or a normal amount of suffering. But Jeremiah 29:11 basically talks about how God knows the plans that He has for you, and there are plans for a hope in a future. And so, um, anytime that I find myself struggling, stopping, feeling weak, feeling beat up by the world, feeling tired, that verse has always given me life. It's always been something that I could run to. Isaiah 43:18 has actually been a new verse for me too. Um, and that one actually talks about how uh, we're to forget the old things, like not even remember them. And then and then the prophet says, look, can't you see it? There's something new. And so that has been a recent verse that's been kind of put in my life recently. But I would say Jeremiah 29:11 is probably, that's been my life verse for the longest.
Yeah. So brother, so what I see is how it's important to read the Bible because that's when you get tools,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And then any situation you have or you're facing is like where to go.
Yes.
So tell us what is important to read the Bible to get the tools so we can apply in the situation. Like for example, tell us when one situation come to you, and sometimes maybe the first thing was not read the Bible, maybe it was something like I think you are close to your mom, right? So
Mm.
when you want to ask her, say, "Oh, hold on, I think I got the right source, right?"
Mm.
So tell us what you do when situation come to you, and you was like, "Oh, go left, right, what?
Yeah.
How the Bible work with you?"
Yeah. So the the Bible is important for so many. Um, you know, it's God's love letter to us, right? It
Yeah,
shows the realness of humanity,
yes, right.
and then it shows how graceful and how um, thoughtful God is towards His responses. Um, it doesn't always read like that, but the overarching, you know, um, theme of the Bible is a God who's actually madly in love with us. So I read the Bible for many reasons.
Yes,
The main reasons that I read it, though, one is to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. Um, you know, people say a lot of things, and there's a lot of good things that people say, and people try to relate that stuff to the Bible, but sometimes that stuff isn't even found in the Bible. And so
yes, that's right.
I I I try to read my words so that when I do quote things of the Bible, I'm actually speaking from what I've read. So that's one reason why I read the Bible. The second important reason that I read the Bible is because, you know, going back to our cell phones, we have a lot of information on our cell phones.
Yeah,
There's a lot of resources that you can use
sure.
actually to kind of build yourself up and make sure that you're getting fed, right? Um, whether it's a sermon, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a whatever it is online. There's so many things. Um, But what I've been finding recently is that, some of the things that I listen to, I find that, there are pastors that have platforms and big congregations, but a lot of the things that they say that are in the Bible, it doesn't match up with what the Bible says. And so, for us as Christians, as followers, as people who attend church, it's super important that we read our Bible because, we're the ones who are supposed to hold the pastors accountable to kind of what they're saying up there, right?
Yes, that's right, bro.
How are we supposed to hold them accountable if we don't even know what we're talking?
Exactly.
And so, staying in your word is important. Um, that's how I learned to know what God's voice sounds
Yeah, because
like, right?
if you get the wrong source, she will confuse you where you listen.
Yeah.
And like we're talking about distractions, you think you're gonna be the voice.
That's it.
Well, we see the
That's exactly it.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
The Bible is God is talking to me to the TV. Like,
See?
is he confused, my brother?
Yeah. That's
Right.
it. That's exactly
Let's say
it.
something for a listener today.
Yeah.
I want to draw the question for you. You are listen and take your time. I mean, so many times we listen, but look what this question we have for you. Okay, you are started growing, right? So, brother Paul, let's ask them, but to people, our friends. Now is your turn, listener. Here is a some question for your personal reflection. How do we know when it's time to grow into the next level?
Hmm.
Well, you have an idea? How can I help us with that?
Yeah. I think in my life there have been two ways that I knew it was time for me to grow into the next level. And I think most people will find that they kind of fall into one or two of these categories. So one, I was outgrowing everything that I was doing. So whether it was people that I was working with, a job, um, there were just things where I kind of found that I was a little bit more mature. And there was more maturity that was calling out to me, right? Because I still needed to be more mature than where I was at the time. And but what I found is that if I stayed in the same group of people that I was with, I wasn't going to be able to kind of to grow into what God was having me grow into. So I would say, one is recognizing that you're you're in a place where you're stagnant, and if you stay there, then you're settling for stagnancy, which that's that's a choice, and
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
totally
right.
right. That's your ability. I would say the second thing is suffering. Suffering often has an effect to us that makes us think that we've done something wrong, or we're being wronged, or um, the universe is against us, or God's mad at us. But what I found most of the times is that suffering is actually an opportunity for growth. The Bible actually says that suffering, it leads to endurance. Endurance is a part of growth. Um, you know, when the Bible talks about suffering, there's a part of the, in the fruit of the Spirit, it talks about long suffering is actually a fruit of the Spirit. And so, um, anything that grows suffers in pain. You you don't you don't grow without pain. Um, you know, things break,
Yes.
and so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right. And
What about?
yeah, another thing I always see is like you say, the freight, right? Sometimes we like, oh, I am growing this way, or
Mhm.
I'm learning this one before, so why do you want to change it? Why do you want to put new stuff? So I think if people challenge what they know when they accept Christ, when they come to walking with God,
Mhm.
in the time when they're right now. So why you want to tell somebody like, oh no, that one is revolution, is not part of what God say. So
Mhm.
because I know a lot of friends who's like, the gospel is pure, the gospel is this, and then they say, yeah, but like you say like something key. If you pay attention, you say one key.
Mhm.
But some folks gonna say like, There's evolutionary stuff. The
Mhm.
gospel is that well, listen what my grandma, what my grandpa say. And I don't know if you remember the speaker guest was Ian.
Mhm.
He talking about, hey, prepare for the change.
Mhm.
Just prepare. You
Yeah.
can be always stuck in the same level all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
so how you can say like, oh yes, this church like, oh wait a minute, watching this one, this song. So how you say like, I am ready
Mhm.
to the next step.
Yeah.
I am thinking the guy is moving to the next step.
Mhm.
So for someone who has religion
Mhm.
or the classic gospel, and right now that's different.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I would say it. It might be. It looks a little different, but I would say that it's still the same.
yeah,
The gospel doesn't change. Um, the the players change, right? As far as like who presents it. Because the pastors change, the worship leader change, the worship team changes, the congregation changes or grows, right? That's the hope.
yeah,
Um, but I would say, you know, most people think that a healthy church is a growing church. I would say a healthy church is a free church, right? Freedom of expression, being able to kind of do these things. Dance like David danced, right? Just
yes.
wave your ribbons, your flags while you're worshiping.
Yeah, we
Um,
got flags, right? We got
hey,
flags on the
that's what
ceiling.
I'm saying though. But like even that stuff,
Mhm.
I grew up with that.
Wow.
I grew up with that. Like the so like that's why coming to New Life and seeing those things, I was like, man, this feels like home because
Yeah,
those are the things that
missing.
I'm used to.
Yeah,
As
that's right.
far as the expression of like praising and worshiping God and like you know coming to the understanding of like um bringing ourselves to the altar and like letting things die there, like those I'm used to that. I'm used to that. And I think where people started to take away some of those things or maybe compartmentalize these things like they belong in
Yeah,
certain categories, that's where it looks different. That's where it looks like it's changed because it's almost like you're trying to organize something that God has organization.
at the beginning.
You know,
Mhm.
like this is God's organization.
That's right.
He's not
New
like
and this stuff.
no, and like not only is he not new to this stuff, I think he doesn't like well if you know if we end up praising and worshiping him all service, he's not going to be mad that nobody preached the Bible,
That's
you know,
right. Yeah.
or somebody gets a word from worship, right?
Mhm.
God's not going to sit there in judgment because they're they're sitting in that revelation and they're not receiving anything from the pulpit, like, and that's what I'm talking about. Like that's the type of environments that I've grown up in. I've seen these things. I've witnessed these things in front of me. So when I see the structure that some people put in churches or on churches, um, you know, I I see where things have changed. Um, I don't know if it's for the better.
So, my brother, so what will endurance when life gets hard?
Hmm.
Tell us.
Well, when I read my Bible, it says that trials and suffering will build our endurance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, my brother.
So, you know, I would say, actually, I would say, even for myself, some of the things that we try to run away from,
Mhm.
the things that we try to push away, the especially the hard things,
Yeah,
that's actually what builds your, and that's according to the Bible.
exactly. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep moving on. And why is easy to miss our own growth?
Hmm.
Why is easy to missing? What do you think make us distraction? Make us like that's not.
Yeah.
Thinking that's not worth it.
Um, I think us. my flesh.
Yeah.
You know, I don't always want to read my Bible. I don't always want to pray. I don't always want to worship Him. Um, but one of my close friends actually told me recently. We've been partnering in prayer, and he's been like really just helping me through this season that I'm in. Um, and he actually really encouraged me in this, where he was saying like, you know, we don't always feel like doing those things, but what he challenged me with, and it really encouraged me, is he said, but that's likely and possibly the moment when we're actually supposed to be doing those things. And what he told me, and it's biblical, is like, you know, it's a sacrifice of worship, right?
Yes.
Especially when you
Yeah.
don't want to worship
Oh yeah.
and you actually engage in worship, that is a sacrifice of worship.
Yeah.
And also the other thing that he told me is like, in his weakest points, that's where God can be made strong. And so, um, yeah, after talking to him about those things really helped me with that part.
Yeah. Absolutely right, Maria. Well, you know, I think he always we need to take time to pray. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's the way we connect with God and the way we can see what's the next step
Mm.
we need to take. We need to see the way to take the next step
Yeah.
because sometimes the next step maybe could be slow
Mm-hmm.
or the change can be faster.
Yeah.
We never know. But like you said, reading our Bible, asking God,
Yep.
reveal how we want to make take the next step.
Mm.
Well, write it down. Let's God show you what's next.
Mm.
If you are still reading, God's not done.
Amen.
Keep climbing.
Yes, sir.
Now what? My brother Paul,
Yes.
I want to give you thank you for being with us
Oh,
today.
thank you,
And then,
Jeremy.
you know, I hope so. We learn a lot. You know, we listen to you. Thank you for sharing your heart with us.
Yeah.
And thank you for make the time because you know usually what we don't have is the time. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope so. That's not the first and the last time you come to the
Yeah,
show.
absolutely, man.
And
I'm
you will
so
welcome to
excited.
come
Thank you.
anytime. And then you know for our audience, right? Thank you for
Yes.
spending this time for us. And if this will encourage you, share it.
Please.
Don't forget to follow out. Come back at the next part of the series.
Please.
Until next time, right? Something you like to say for closing, my brother?
Man, thank you for having me. This has been fun, and I hope to do it again. I was blessed by this. Um, I hope you guys were blessed by this too.
Yeah, I have some of my brothers here. So let's until next time and ask yourself now
What?
what? All right. Thank you.
I love it.